Hello, my name's Lucy, and 3 months ago I wrote a letter to this man here who is Dominic Mohan. He's the editor of the Sun newspaper, and I asked him to please stop showing the bare breasts in the paper, and I haven't had his response yet, so I don't know whether it got lost in the post or what, but I was just really curious to find out why he's showing these pictures. And then I found him on the internet talking about page 3, so I thought we'd have a little chat. So yeah, so hello Dominic, I just wondered why you've continued to show the bare breasts of young women in your family newspaper. Perhaps you could tell me.
Well, there's obviously been quite a lot of criticism I've read of late of page 3, but my position is, I mean, this was first published 42 years ago, and...
Oh, I've got to stop you there, Yeah, it was first published 42 years ago, Dominic, in 1970. Is your paper stuck in 1970? 1970 was a really sexist era. Women had only had equal voting rights to men for 42 years in 1970. There were only 26 female MPs in that year out of 630. It's a completely male-run society, male-managed media, so a group of men just sat around going, oh, I know what, let's put teenage breasts in the paper. Yeah, men like looking at boobs. With no thought to how women would feel being represented like this. Yeah, so that's kind of one of my main reasons, is why are we still upholding this decision that was made in 1970? Surely in 2012, you know, we've come a long way in terms of equality. Anyway, sorry to cut you off, carry on.
Meant to represent sort of youth and freshness. And
wow, hang on a minute, let's just go back. Say that again, Dominic, say that again. Say that again.
And I think it's meant to represent sort of youth and freshness, and it...
My goodness, he's wearing a suit. I thought he was going to get the big guns out. I think it's meant to represent youth and freshness. I think it's meant to represent youth and freshness. Well, for a start, Dominic, you don't sound that sure. But also representing youth and freshness. My goodness. So yeah, if you were a newspaper editor and you wanted to represent youth and freshness in your pages, how would you do that? How would you do that? Youth and freshness. We did asked this question on Twitter and Facebook, and you know, we've got these great ideas. You know, maybe you could, you know, hear from students, hear what's really important to them at the moment. Look at children at school doing sports, doing creativity, doing things for charity. That would really represent youth and freshness. Nobody thought, I know what, let's show men, young women's boobs. Yeah, you're not representing youth and freshness, Dominic. Sorry. Anyway, carry on.
It celebrates natural beauty. We don't have models who have had plastic surgery on the page. It's obviously legal.
Okay, let's stop you there. Yeah, celebrating natural beauty. Okay, celebrating natural beauty, but you're celebrating natural beauty within very narrow confines, the confines of, you know, young women with big boobs. What about the natural beauty of the male body, the natural beauty of the older body? Yeah, you haven't really thought about that at all. And also, you know, you say you don't use surgically enhanced models. I'm just going to point you towards an article that you printed in your newspaper in November last year. I'm sure you know it. This is an article about the perfect breast, Doctor's Perfect Boob Formula. So yeah, this looks at this page 3 model, and it looks at angles of where the nipple is and everything like that to do with size. And yeah, a doctor has worked out what makes the perfect boobs. Plastic surgeon Patrick Malucci identified the 4 key features. So yeah, you don't use women who are surgically enhanced, but you get a plastic surgeon to run a feature on the perfect breast. Do you have any idea how women feel confronted with something like that? You know, because so many women don't have boobs like that. So they'd have to go to surgery to get that if you're saying that's the perfect boob. It doesn't really make sense, this argument. Anyway, sorry, carry on, Dominic. I keep cutting you off.
We're allowed to publish those images.
Yeah, you said it was legal.
I think it's become quite an innocuous British institution where...
Okay, let's stop there. So you are allowed to publish them. Yeah, you are allowed to publish them, but that's not, you know, it's not for want of some people having tried to make these images illegal. You know, famously Claire Short stood up in the 80s, an MP, and she tried to get legislation to stop these pictures being allowed. You know, she received thousands of letters of support from women who'd felt really affected by these images in a really damaging way. And you say it's innocuous. I find it really hard to hear that word, innocuous. You know, being inside the campaign and hearing so many stories of people affected by these images, and then hearing this word innocuous or harmless. And actually Claire Short, you probably know this, Dominic, Claire Short received thousands of letters of support. 12 were from women who'd had page 3 mentioned to them while they were being raped. Yeah, I don't think innocuous was the best word to use there. And yeah, you say it's an institution. Interesting institution really, isn't it? Because Larry Lamb, who was the editor who started page 3, regretted it before he died. Stephanie Rahn, who was the very first page 3 girl, is in support of our campaign. And you call it an institution. Well, you know, we just saw British institutions and traditions celebrated on the world stage for everyone to see, for the world to see, at the opening ceremony of the Olympics. There wasn't a page 3 girl in sight. It's not an institution that people are proud of, Dominic, and you know that. Sorry, carry on, I keep cutting
Yeah,
this.
as a parent myself, I mean, I'm more concerned about images that my children might come across on the internet or on digital devices.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, actually. I'm not surprised. Interesting you said as a parent, I'm more concerned. I'm more concerned. That implies that you are actually concerned with the images that your children can find in your own paper. And if you're concerned about these images that children can find in your own paper, then why are you giving away free Lego, encouraging children towards your paper? You know, throughout half term, you gave away free Lego. Okay, so you are concerned by these images you're putting in your paper, which doesn't make sense, but you should be concerned with what your kids are finding on the internet. There's a brilliant book I've been reading here called The Equality Illusion. I don't know whether you're aware of this, whether you've read this great feminist work, but it talks about pornography and it talks about, you know, how lots of young people are getting their sex education from pornography, and it mentions how 80% of pornography shows physical acts of aggression towards women. Now you say you're a father, I don't know whether you're a father of daughters, but if I was a father of daughters I'd be concerned about that. And I'd be doing everything I could to encourage respect for women. And showing women in this way in your paper isn't encouraging respect for them. Showing them as sexually available to men isn't encouraging respect for women. Sorry, Dominic, I keep cutting you off. Carry on.
So I think that it's a part of British society. I think on our 40th anniversary I've included a piece that was written by the feminist author Germaine Greer. She says that if I ask my odd job man what he gets out of page 3, he tells me simply, it cheers me up. But
wow. I don't really know where to start with that. So yeah, Germaine Greer, famous feminist, is very happy for the largest female image in the most widely read newspaper in the country to be of a young woman standing in her knickers showing her breasts for men. She's very happy that that's the state of affairs. She's very happy that children look at the paper and they see page after page of image of men in clothes doing things, running the country, achieving in sports, and one massive image of a woman standing in her pants showing her breasts to men. Germaine Greer is fine about that because it cheers her odd job man up. Yeah, so there you go. Carry on.
what I would say is I think that the ultimate sanction lies with the reader. I mean, the reader is not compelled to buy a newspaper on a daily basis, so I think it is tolerated in British society by the majority of British society.
Okay, but one thing I would like to say is I grew up with the Sun in my household. I feel affected. It definitely affected me and my relationship with my boobs, my self-esteem. All the other people working in the campaign with me have grown up with the Sun in their house, and now they are campaigning against these images. So many people are signing the petition. They like your paper, Dominic. They actually like the journalism. It's not all about the boobs for them. They like the journalism, they like the sport, they like the office, they like the funny headlines. But they turn that page pretty quickly, they tell me, because they feel like a bit of a perv. I actually think you're insulting your readers. I think you're insulting your readers. Because I've gone out and spoken to quite a few people who buy the Sun and read the Sun and like your paper. And they really care for women. They like boobs, but they care for women. And they would do anything to make the society that their daughters, their sisters, their partners, their nieces, their mothers live in, they would do anything to make that society a little bit safer, a little bit kinder, a little bit more respectful for them. And if that meant foregoing their right to seeing boobs in the paper, they would totally do that. They would totally do that, Dominic. You're insulting them. Sorry, carry on.
I don't think that the images are sexualised in the way that even some clothed images are in magazines, advertisements, pop videos.
Okay, wait. So you don't think these images are sexualised? Okay, so I'm just going to show you. See, this is yesterday's page 3 model. So fully made up on a beach, legs straddled, boobs out. Is that not sexualised? Is that not sexualised? I would say that's sexualised, Dominic. Yeah, I'd definitely say that's sexualised. Interesting you don't think it is. Yeah, interesting. Carry on.
And I think that it's worth looking at page 3 in a wider context. And
I think we totally are looking at it in a wider context.
Women's issues that we cover. I mean, a lot of the page 3 girls, they're much more than just models. They've become ambassadors for the paper. A number of them have travelled to Afghanistan, are heavily involved in Help for Heroes.
Okay, that's interesting. So your page 3 girls have travelled to Afghanistan, and that's great that you're doing, you know, work for the troops. You want to cheer the troops up over there, but it's not just men in Afghanistan, is it? It's women as well. So maybe, I mean, I don't know. Maybe the women serving in Afghanistan, you know, love seeing page 3 girls, but it seems a little bit sexist to me to be sending page 3 girls over there. Maybe that's just me, but you know, I would say maybe, you know, if you want to cheer troops up overseas, maybe sending out a comedian might be great, or maybe like a female footballer. You know, somebody who, you know, equally works in kind of a male-dominated, you know, tends to be a male-dominated environment. Somebody, you know, physically fit, inspiring. Yeah, that would just be me, but, you know, carry on.
Raising money. Some have gone on to careers in photography.
I'm sure they have.
And I think you shouldn't look at page 3 in isolation.
I don't think
you
we
should
are.
look at it and all the other work that we do with women's issues. I outlined quite a few of the campaigns here that we've run. One against domestic violence in 2003, which there's also a letter from the head of one of the domestic violence charities, Refuge, which is attached. It's a Stop Rape Now campaign.
Okay. Now, look, it's amazing that you're doing that. You know, stop rape and domestic violence, because the figures of rape and domestic violence are really, really shocking. Really shocking. You know, 1 in 4 women in their lifetime will experience domestic violence. You know, in my friends and, you know, people close to me, it's 1 in 3 have experienced sexual assault, some more times. So, you know, these are really, really frightening things that affect women, and it's amazing that your paper is using that power to, you know, to highlight these issues. But I would say that in no literature about rape or in literature about domestic violence is there a picture of a woman standing in her pants. You know, you just wouldn't have that. It's interesting, isn't it? I think it's great that you're doing that work. I think you should carry on doing that work, because so much stuff affects women. I think sadly it's slightly drowned out by this neon sign that says "Shut up, women, and get your tits out," which is what the page 3 image does. But that's not to say you shouldn't do that work, because it's really good. Carry on.
A Herceptin campaign, which was trying to draw attention to the availability of the Herceptin cancer drug. Also last year we launched a campaign after the PIP implant scandal, where we demanded safer surgery for women. And also Jade's Legacy, which was set up after the death of Jade Goody, which was raising awareness of cervical cancer.
So you want to do good work for women?
I think that some of the allegations that I've heard
so why don't you
about the Sun
stop respecting them?
Sexist in some way and not tackling women's issues, I think is a false one.
Oh! So that was a little chat with Dominic. I'm kind of not impressed. Dominic. I don't really see a valid argument for this at all in 2012. Do you?